Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this tutorial, we're going to be diving into how I make flags for our scenes in our upcoming film, or even just a Blender animation in general. I want to show you guys how I go through the process of making it, whether it's in a background or it's a main part of a scene. Just want to show you guys how you would do something like that in Blender and the way I approach that. Okay, so we're going to want to start in a new Blender scene. So you're going to want to get that opened up. And then we're going to move forward and we're going to switch everything over to cycles. I prefer cycles. It looks a lot better for your final renders, especially if you're going for a cinematic look. You're going to want to head over to cycles. And then we're going to switch over our resolution, so it's a higher resolution. I personally use 4K for my resolution. That is what I shoot in normally when I'm out filming or recording. And I only keep that at 24 frames per second. Sometimes I go to 23.94 because that's true 24 frames per second. And then we're going to select a spot where we want our file to go. Very important. Now you'll have a named location, and you can switch from 8 to 16 color bit with 0 compression. I just prefer, if I'm going to add compression, it'll be done later rather than in Blender. That's just me personally. You can do it however you want, depending upon what file you want to do and how you're going to use your frames. And now we'll start out with a basic shape. We're going to start with a plane, and we're going to rotate that sucker to be correct. Now that we have our basic shape, we are going to subdivide this. I would encourage you to subdivide to a higher amount. You're going to want to subdivide by quite a bit. I went to 20 for this example, but go as high as you need depending upon how much you want your flag to kind of bend and blow in the wind, because that'll play a crucial part. Next, we're going to look for a texture. So I just looked up what type of texture would be on a flag, and I found that polyester or nylon, and I decided to go with polyester. I'm currently using Blender Kit to find my fabric that I would like to use, and that's how we're going to start, because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel if the work's already been laid. So let's find a nice polyester, and let's go in and let's bring this texture to life to what we want it to be. And I'm just going to add a light now, sun, so when we go into cycles, we can see what it looks like. But that's besides the point. Aha, there it is, the nice green polyester. Nice, huh? So, now let's go into the texturing the shading, and let's start working wheel time. So, we need to find an image texture, and that's going to be our first step. We're going to replace the current green with a reference image. Your reference flag should be what you want it to be in your final product. I'm going to be using the Crimson Dawn flag and the new show coming out for Darth Maul, which I am so excited for. So make sure that you have that on hand, because now would be the time you'd want to pull out that texture. We are then going to take our color node and we're going to plug it right into the base color of the principled BSDF. And now we're going to want to use some of our Wrangler node add-on. If you don't have it enabled, you're going to want to get that enabled. Control T to be able to get our mapping and texture coordinates so that we can actually set up our flag to be facing the correct direction. It took me about 10 minutes to get it just right. So take your time on this step when you're rotating the flag to make sure it is absolutely perfect. Now we're going to head over to the render viewport to see what our flag is looking like. I definitely need to get the sun brighter. There we go, get it set to nice 10. It depends on what your lighting is going to be. Generally using a HDRI is much preferred, especially if you're going for like a photorealistic result. You're going to want to get an HDRI. But for today's tutorial, we're just not going to worry about it because there's no reason to. So now we need to give the flag life. Physics. We're going to want to head over to the Edit tab. So we're going to click into that, I tab into that, and then we're going to select the back end of the flag. This is going to be where the pole connects to the flag. It depends on what you're doing, because if you're doing like a banner, obviously be like more towards the top. But since we're doing a flag, it'll be this side. So we're going to want to assign that group. So I'm going through, selecting it, and then assigning that specific group so that we can then go into the Shape tab and pin that group that we just selected. So when we hit play on our animation, the flag just goes blop, and it won't fall through the Blender scene. See how it's staying put? It's because we pinned that shape down with the selected group. And that's great. So we got the easy part done. I mean, I think it's easy. You can also smooth it out. I do Shade Smooth Auto, and that kind of helps with those wrinkles and those things in the viewport. Anyway, it helps for a little bit. of a nicer flag. It gives it more of a polished look, I guess, right? I mean, it doesn't look bad. Look, this is where we're at so far. And it's not terrible. I mean, there's some creases that are pretty darn ugly in there, but you can fix that out later. Now, I have this fun little add-on that I'm going to be trying out for the first time. Simply Tear. I got it from what used to be Blender Market, which is now the Hive, I think is what it's called. I'll leave a link in the description for all these add-ons then. But it was my first time using this, and I think it's not bad. I greatly enjoyed it. I think it does a good job. You can do all sorts of different things with it. I mean, you'd have to go watch the tutorial. But I really enjoy the cut through and being able to draw the cuts into the flag. I mean, that was pretty cool that you could even do that. As soon as I figure out. There it is. So you can kind of go through and actually cut through the flag if you want that war-torn look. Because, I mean, who doesn't? Like, especially if you're dealing with the Crimson Dawn flag. I mean, it's got to have that look. So I'm going to go through and we're going to add some tears into this. Well, what's cool about this add-on is that it's very intuitive. So as soon as we go in and we hit play, it's already cut out those pieces of the flag. They're already gone. They're cut out. You can see it in the viewport on the animation. Of course, if you're having the tears be in it before your scene, you're just going to move the playhead a few frames ahead. You know, like start at like 34 frames or whatever. But we're going to add in some more details just for funsies. It's nice because it's very customizable depending upon what your needs are for your flag or banner. So, next part, we're going to add in the flagpole. So we're going to grab a basic cylinder, and we're going to begin to shape it out. So we're just going to kind of take it, shrink it down, bring it over. Now we're going to kind of shade smooth it a couple times. We're going to bring it up. Oh, and there we go. Perfect. And for this tutorial, I'm not going to be taking too much time on the flagpole. I'm just going to do a rough one. You can take as much time as you want on a flagpole. The more time, the better. But I'd say that's good. Right there. Yeah, we're gonna keep that. That looks good. So now we're going to go in and we're going to grab another fabric. We're going to grab metal. And we're just going to slap that white on top. I'm just going to find a metal that's that looks good. That one looks good. We're just going to go with that. That's fine. And now let's go see what that looks like in the viewport layer. Looks good. The only thing we're going to have to do is we're going to unwrap these UVs because they're a bit messed up. UV unwrapping, there's a bunch of tutorials on that if you don't know how to do it. I'm just using the basic smart UV unwrap for now for this tutorial, and there's our flag. I mean, it's there. You could go through and add a collision modifier if you don't want it to hit back on through your pole. If you don't want it to go all the way through your pole, you could add a collision modifier. There's some tutorials out there for that. But for this, I think I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out so far. Next, we're going to add a little bit of wind. Let's say it's a windy day outside and your flag needs some wind. So we're going to add that. We're going to add some wind. We're going to bring it in. And now, the interesting thing when you're doing wind in Blender is you generally have to jack it up quite a bit to be able to get it to actually interact with the flag. Because just as is, it just flops. It ain't doing nothing. It's a light breeze. It's not enough to even cover your sweat. Even that, you've got to really bump up that strength. Even at like 803 wasn't enough. You got to go high. You'll see me adjust the flow. I'm just kind of messing around with it, but let's do 100,000. And now watch. Woo! It's going everywhere. That's absolutely insanity. So let's do 53. And that is definitely not what we want, huh? That does not look good. No, we're going to put it up quite a ways. I think we're kind of just playing around, guys, and that's what you're going to have to do. I think that's the best thing to do in Blender is just kind of play around until you find a happy medium with it. So we're going to bring it back down. And let's try that. And that's kind of white where, yeah, that's decent. Let's stay in this region a little bit. Actually going to mess with some of the cloth physics a little bit. You're going to want to use your cloth physics and just kind of mess around. My best advice is I don't understand what everything always does in Blender. There's lots of tutorials and lots of information, but the best way to figure things out is to just get in there and start messing around. I have self collisions on, and that really screwed up the flag for some reason. We're trying things, and this didn't work out in this instance, and that's fine. So let's take that off. And let's hit play and see what it's gonna do. I'm semi okay with this. Let's take a look at it in the viewport. It's not bad. You can bake the animation too to help it. If you bake it, it will help later because it's going to save your GPU and it's going to be able to cook in that exact animation that you want. So it's fully baked into the 3D model. But for what we're trying to accomplish today, I mean, this is pretty much how we would do it. This is how we would do a flag. Here's a rendered image of the flag. And it's not perfect, but it's enough to get you started. I know for the flags that we'll be using in the film and the banners, they're a lot more realistic because I took a lot more time on them. And you can too. But this is just a tutorial, just enough to get you started. If I give you all the answers, then what's the point in being creative, right?
Okay, well, like I said, guys, it's definitely important to go over the fundamentals and really visit what you want in your flag. Really fine-tune those details, because sometimes it gets a bit confusing, especially when you're doing the physics simulations. So I would encourage you to even look into baking those simulations and really making sure everything is good with your flag before fully rendering it out. Those collisions can be difficult to deal with, and, you know, I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and I'll see you in the next video.